and welcome to That's What Speaks. Today is Thursday, Wednesday, May 24th. I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. It's a margarita day. Feel free to go pour yourself one. Chin chin. Right. The teen is graduating. I broke my back yesterday, the day before yesterday. I didn't break, I shouldn't have even said that out loud. Public service announcement. You are super strong. You are super tough. Don't pick up a window air conditioner off the floor, especially not when your teenager is in like the adjacent room. And like, you could just be like, hey, can you help me with this? But you just don't, because you just don't even think about it. And because it's in like a tight space on the floor, you don't know how to get into like a deep enough squat to lift with your legs. So you just beast it out and then you hurt yourself real bad. Public service announcement. Just ask for help. It's okay. You'll feel more like an idiot if you don't ask for help and do something crazy to your back than if you would just have asked for help. I didn't even not ask for help because I felt like an idiot. I clearly was thinking of 27 other things. So like, you know, I'm just going to give myself some grace on that one. Like clearly my mind was just thinking of 27 other things. I had a task and there was the most straightforward way to do it. And that's what I did. And it didn't even hurt when I did it. We have air conditioning, we have central air in our house, and like we just paid a gajillion dollars to get it fixed or replaced several years ago, but it's an old house, like it's 2 stories. The upstairs just is never quite cool enough for me to sleep or the teen. So like we have we supplemental air conditioning upstairs. Where's this even going? Besides my public service announcement and hence my margarita in the afternoon. I don't even give out the good pain medication anymore. Not that I would go to a doctor for this because there's nothing they can do. But now especially, they're like, that would be $200. We recommend Tylenol and ibuprofen. Thanks. So yeah, like it didn't even, I'm very thankful that it didn't do the scary thing, because that's when you know it's really bad. It's like when you hurt it while you're doing the activity. It literally, like I put it up, I put it on the window, did the whole thing, came downstairs, you know, made dinner. You know, it wasn't until like after we'd eaten dinner, I was sitting down doing my knitting. I went to get up and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't, like, what did I do to my back? And I kept thinking like, what have I done? And I was like, well, I've been cutting a lot of fabric, and it's like, maybe I just, like, and then I was feeling like really like, oh my gosh, like, is it because I rode my bike the other day? And I was like, I mean, I did ride a little bit longer than I usually do, but like, oh my gosh, that's terrible news and I was just like going through my head. And then like that night when I went to bed, as soon as I laid down, I was like, air conditioner. So yesterday was a complete rest day. Actually, it wasn't, because this is the other thing. The teen is graduating tomorrow. And so like, I had all these plans to sew myself something where I would feel like cute and like expressive of my own personality, which, you know, like that's a new thing for me in terms of like something that's like, you know, anyway. And so I was like, all like, oh, and I'm going to do this. And so I had so many plans. I had like fabrics laid out and I had choices, and I was going through like, do I do this or do I do this? And I was like, oh, I know I'm kind of cutting it close, but I needed to finish up some shop stuff. And then I would have these 3 days or 2 days to sew something for myself. So I'd feel really like, you know, like in the moment and like not worried about others. Like, I mean, I'm always gonna be worried about other stuff because hello, but you know what I mean? Like that wouldn't be one of the things I was worried about. So it would allow me more to be in the moment and be, you know, like, oh, this is a big thing that's happening. And now so I was like, yesterday I was like, I have to keep going. Like I can't go to this kid's graduation in like jeans and a t-shirt. But now I have come to grips with the fact that I have to go as like 2000s me in like a maxi dress and cardigan, which is a little bit disappointing, but doesn't change the like excitement of the day. Womp womp. But I think I can get away with wearing maybe like either a me-made cardigan, like either a knit cardigan or just something that makes me feel a little bit like more myself. But it's so funny, like, right? Like you have, and super flushed. Like, welcome to redhead summer. Welcome to rosacea summer, y'all. Fist bump. I'm part of plus size hikers on Facebook. I don't really use Facebook for anything but like not forumsy things. The groups, that's what they're called. And so I've seen several posts recently about women being like, is there anything I can do? Because like I'm constantly red in the face and sweating. And there have been so many people that respond to them like, yeah, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, you know, like wear sunblock and a hat just in case it's like partly also the sun that is making you red. But also like we're all out here. We're all being red-faced and sweaty. It's really okay. And if you're not a red-faced sweater, don't ask if red-faced sweaters are okay. We're okay. If we need help, we will signal you. Like it'll probably be because we're lying down or we're saying, I need help. But like if you're just like hiking along and you see me or somebody that looks, you know, anyway like me, or basically just any human being, and they're very red-faced and they're very sweaty, but they're up, maybe they're not even moving, maybe they're taking a break, getting a little oxygenation going. Like, don't ask them if they're okay. They're okay. They're just in the moment. So that's my public service announcement to you. And then on the other side of that is my folks who are red and sweaty. Rock on. Keep being red and sweaty. We're going to see each other one day. It's your civic duty to get out there, to be red, to be sweaty, so that other red sweaties can be like, ah, oh, yes. There could be like a magic moment of recognition. We can fist bump each other as we redly sweat and walk around. Also, guns out. Sun's out, guns out. I don't care what your guns look like. Okay, let me just, you know what? Let me dial that back because I don't want to actually see your guns. I mean your guns. But I need to rework what that's called because I want to see your like beautiful, cellulite-y, saggy, unevenly colored, clumpy, lumpy, strong, or not, big, fat, small, thin, in-betweens. I want to see all of this because, again, it is your civic duty. It's your civic duty. You are empowering other, probably women, you are empowering other human beings to be imperfect in the world by being imperfect in the world. Be imperfect in the world. Okay, that's my motivational speech that I did not plan. But yeah, graduation. Okay, so let's talk about some stuff. First off, I'm going to do some pre-orders. By the time this is out in the world, the pre-orders are going to be out in the world because I'm going to be honest with you, I just couldn't, too much whirling pigeons and machinery. I could not decide on how to move forward. So you know what an alternative to that is? Pre-order. Things I've been wanting to do a pre-order for a while. A new thing I want to do a pre-order for. Or just put them all together. Put them up on the internet. They're there if you're interested. So if you're not interested in bags, skip forward. There's a timestamp. Good on you. If you are, or you just want to see some color inspiration, just stick with me for a second. FatSquirrelFibers.com. There are going to be pre-orders up for about a week. So today, as I said earlier, is Wednesday the 24th. There'll be pre-orders for about a week. Let's talk about what they'll be. I was inspired by this pattern that I'll talk about in a second to finally get this pre-order on the road. Okay, have you seen this? So somebody in the Patreon group, thank you patrons, directed me toward this pattern. Can we just sit with a moment? So this is Mushroom Fables Crochet, thick, T-H-I-C-C, Mushroom Lady. There are options. There are different mushroom cap options. There are different front-facing adipose tissue options. This is crochet, so this is the first, I think, and Okay, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's just to explain that I felt like that was like the cosmos telling me that it was mushroom pre-order time, because I had this in the pipeline but just hadn't found the right time to do it. So we're gonna do it right now, because mushroom ladies. First fabric option. Do you love? So I've done this option before. It was a larger print, and I only had it in the biggest bag, the Aran bag. But for this pre-order, I've chosen the smaller version, and therefore it will be available in my 3 most popular sizes. So Aran sweater, which is great for fat lady sweaters, fat person sweaters. It's great for blankets. It's great for, you know, your lightest Stephen West 16 skein shawl. Sweater size, excellent for sweaters in progress, sweaters for smaller humans, lighter weight sweaters, and your Stephen West shawls. And then we have the large wedge. Great for Stephen West shawls. Great for, this is really not a Stephen West shawl bag. There's like one of his shawls maybe you could maybe make for this. But it's great for like 2 to 3 skeins. It's great for, you know, just accumulating things. So there's gonna be this crazy mushroom fabric. Then there's a totally new mushroom fabric, which is even mushroomier. I should have combined this with my talk about the book, is it called A Very Good Day? Which is about an author. Okay, no, we're doing a pre-order. We're not talking about stuff. Gosh, shush up. So again, all 3 of my most popular sizes. I mean, like, how fun are these color combinations? You have this very clear, like, I think it would be gold if it were by itself, but because it's with this teal, it wants to be more tangerine-y in my brain, even though that doesn't make sense. Like, right? It'll go with your new, like, orange Gigi made it interchangeable crochet and knitting needles. Did you see those? Oh, they're so cute. Come on. And here it is in the biggest bag. I mean, how fun is that nonsense? I love this little guy. Love. So just like, what fun, great colors. And now this one is not mushroomy, but it is actually by the same designer as this, which was unintentional. But I got this one and a load of things for the Super Summer Knit Together as I get ready for that. And I needed to do it now. Right. Such fun colors. And as I discussed with my folks on Patreon, I am such a fan of the mixed scale, where you get like the strawberry that's bigger than a window. Right, I loved the mixed scale. Is it because this is a fairy gnome house, or is it because you live in an amazing wilderness filled with giant strawberries? I don't know. You choose. You choose your own adventure, y'all. So that will only be available in 2 sizes because the scale of the print just necessitates it being either in the sweater size or the Aran sweater. And I looked so hard. I used to have this piece of artwork back from like literally, I mean, maybe when I was in college, if not when I was in college, very shortly thereafter. It was like this very saturated piece of art where the house was like, you know, this scale, but then there would be like a bird next to it that was bigger than the house, and there was like all this like super lush foliage, and it was like these really rich jewel tones, and it was so, so this sparked off like, oh, I forgot all about that piece of art, and I tried to find it, and I hope I haven't purged it, but I fear I may have. But I had it laminated and everything, and so maybe I'll find it one day. I did look, but those are all going to be fatsquirrelfibers.com. They'll be like, again, as soon as this is up into the universe, and then from about a week from now, May 24th, just depending on how they go, you know. So And then that will be my last update before the Super Summer Knit Together, which is in the later part of July, or like middle-ish to late-ish July. And then I'll have an update at the end of July with everything I bring home from there. Right. Oh my gosh. So super fun. I'm excited about all of those. What else? Okay, so I wanted to say a brief thank yous. Did I write anybody's name down? Because I'm very bad at this. Okay, so just popping in to say that I have some things to say about art versus craft. A lot of you had great input over last week's episode. I attempted to talk about it here, but it was not. I needed to preview those thoughts before I actually got here, and I didn't do that today. So I'm going to do it next time. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of art, I went to the Private Art Fair. And so this is the second time I've ever gone. It's like the 51st year or something. It happens every spring, every May at the Broad Ripple Arts Center in Indianapolis. It's a really great show. It's in a really nice, like a lot of the grounds are wooded. It has a good flow. It doesn't feel like super people-y. It has a really good combination of craftsmanship and art. You know, it has like a great, just again, I feel like it has a pretty good variety for what you're looking for. Are you looking for more decorative art? Are you looking more for like practical use art pieces? Or, you know, whatever. I think whatever you're looking for, there's a good indication, a good chance you could be inspired or moved or just interested in something in general. So one of the pieces I got was this. It was by an emerging artist. And that's the other thing I really like. They have an emerging artists area where just folks who are not maybe professionally working in this field yet, or again, just consider themselves emerging and for whatever reason, are there to sell and show their wares. So she is Haven Tunin Studios, HAVEN-TUNIN, and she had the loveliest things, and they were so light and so pleasant to hold. Just it's the combination of the shape of the vessel and then also this surface texture. A lot of her pieces, she said she started carving originally because she couldn't throw as thin as she wanted, because she did like a really light piece of ceramic ware. And so she started carving to help with the heaviness of her objects. And then it just kind of continued on as something she enjoyed doing, and something that was part of her aesthetic. And it's just like I also got a cup, but it's dirty. I didn't bring it over. A mug. I don't need any mugs. But I was excited to use this as like a flower vessel or, you know, a margarita vessel. This one was in the freezer, so it won. But you know what I mean? Like, it's so lovely to hold. All of her pieces are just delightful to hold. And then I got some patron prizes as well from I think my favorite printmaker of the moment. He is on Instagram as Flat Mountain Press, _mountains. He is Flat Mountain Press. And I believe he's out of Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. And I saw him last year and loved his stuff. So this year I bought patron prizes. So I'll put them up in the Patreon group at patreon.com so that you can, what we usually do is like, I'll throw up the prizes and then you just like chime in if you're interested in winning that prize. That way I feel like less concern that like I'm just like foisting stuff on you that you don't want. But so he does a lot of woodblock prints and a lot of reduction prints. So this one is called Bouquet. I just really love, and of course you get a red-winged blackbird because, and like his color sense is not even my style, and like I don't know, but it just hits me. It hits me. And then there's also this one, which is called House in the Fields. I just love it. I love the texture of the wood coming through. I love the chunkiness of it. It's so, like, you can almost feel the wood chunk coming off of the block. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can almost feel it happening, like in these, just, oh, it's so resonant. I forgot, this one is called Red Wing in the Sumac. And then I got this one. This is by, oh, this one is also mine. So then this one is mine. I'm sorry, I'm calling it, this one's mine. This one is called Open in September, and I cannot convey to you how much I am excited about it. Like, I'm even, like, look at this little imperfection in the paper. Right, and like, look at these colors. Are they not, like, I can feel that cucumber right there. I can feel it. So good. And then I also purchased this one. This is by my instructor for all the printmaking classes I have taken. Her name is Erin Strager, and this is her cone flowers. Now, this is not her like primary aesthetic. Like, she is definitely more of a she has said she's more of a screen printer. And so a lot of her stuff is like beautiful. Like, she had these really great Dum Dum wrappers this year, like where there's like a crumple, like it's a great crumpled texture, but again, that super clean screen printing vibe. She's like put lots of like amazing pictures of like cake that are screen printed that are just so gorgeous. But I can't help it. I just love a linoleum print so much. So yeah, that's what I bought. Oh, so enjoyable. Okay, and so then in sewing, okay, there's several things. I'm gonna put, I'm gonna put my first thing here. So sorry about my delivery from Joanne Fabrics that I'm anticipating me to take in. But so yeah, here is my skirt. So just got my t-shirt hiked up so that you can see the waistband and everything. And the wind is cooperating. Exciting motion movement. The best of pockets are. That's vitally important. So yeah, it's growing on me. Okay. So that is my estuary skirt, which is a pattern by Sew Liberated. I'm not sponsored by Sew Liberated, but I have done test sews for them, which were compensated, but I am not in any way required. This was not a test sew, and then I'm also not required to promote them as part of my test sewing, which I am compensated for. Okay, that's my, sorry, I was just like, oh, I should do this disclaimer. So that is my estuary skirt. Like, that is not necessarily the best styling, but I actually kind of like it. I just put it on because like I'd just done a bunch of errands. We went up to get the cap and gown. We went to so I was wearing my Rushmore. Bam. Wait, no, not Rushmore. I was wearing my Wes Anderson t-shirt. But, oh, so that's not necessarily, but, okay, so when I finished, I was so excited about it, right? And I don't think you got a good, you're not actually here, so you can't see. But I got like these super awesome vintage buttons that are all mixy-matchy. Right. I was so excited about it. This is like a hoarded piece of Merchant and Mills linen, which is quite spendy for me. I was just really like so excited about the project, and then I finished it and I tried it on and I didn't really like it. Like, my first thought was like, I should sell this before I wear it. And then I was like, I don't think I could ever get my money back on it. But I thought, I guess because I love my peppermint pocket skirts so much, I immediately was like, well, of course I'm gonna like any other skirt. Like, that's my new thing apparently. I love skirts with pockets. When I first put it on, I really didn't, I was very disappointed. Not in the pattern or anything, because it was a joy to sew. Also, liberated patterns are great. The fabric was incredibly enjoyable to sew. The buttons were fun to work with. No issues there. But just like the style of it. It is my peppermint pocket skirt, again, not having I didn't even think about the compare or the contrast. The peppermint pocket skirt is actually quite a bit straighter, and this one is much more A-line. And this one has a lot more fullness in addition to being more A-line. And when I put it on, it just felt maybe not too feminine, but something about it was it just didn't resonate with me. However, when I put it aside, because again, I knew that I was going to talk about it on the podcast. I put it aside and I was like, well, again, maybe I'll sell it. Maybe I'll think of something else to do with it. But I put it on again with this t-shirt, just again, like I was like, I just need to take a picture. I just need to take a picture of it for the podcast. And I actually like it quite a bit more now. Maybe it just, again, so this happens so many times, right? With things we make or what have you, that like, if you're not just pleased with it, like it just needs a cooling off period to like separate it, to allow itself to separate from the idea of what you thought it was going to be versus the reality of what it is. And like, it just needs to go into a cooling off period where you then can just accept it for what it is versus what you wanted it to be. And so I think, I'm not 100% convinced yet. Again, it may just be the margarita talking. I don't know. But I think I like it. And again, maybe I just need to style it differently than I had originally intended. Maybe I need to style it like as a slightly more casual look. I don't know. We're going to see. So I'm not 100% decided one way or the other. I certainly like it as an object. I'm just not sure if the object is for me. But anyway, that's my estuary skirt. And then, I'll put a picture in here of my recent, this is the recent test sew. So that is my Joni top, which is also available from Sew Liberated. They are currently having 30% off all of their patterns as a celebration of the release of the Joni. Here is how they have styled it on their page. Excuse me. So it has two collar options. You can either do like a traditional camp shirt collar, which is the one I used, or like it's more of a, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's more of like a solid piece. And then it's available in both a crop and a long, and then a short sleeve and a long sleeve. So I did a cropped version that is long sleeved, and I think my fabric, I used Essex linen, which is a Robert Kaufman cotton linen blend. I think it was just marginally stiffer than, again, what I was thinking about. The reality of it is I think it will be a great sort of like jacket vibe, like as fall comes along. And I am excited to make it again, make the same Joni top in a lighter weight or a linen or something that's less structural and a little bit more floofy. But I'm very pleased with how my shirt turned out in terms of fit. And one of the nice things is I have not made the Hinterland dress because, again, it's kind of one of those where I'm not sure if, like, I really like the idea of it, but I might have the same feeling I do about this estuary skirt where, like, maybe that, like, super gathered, although I really like other super gathered. Well, what are we? I'm just, we're all exploring our own style, right? Well, some of you aren't, because some of you, were able to do that when you were, like, 18. Some of us, I just had a discussion with a teen because their graduation robes are black. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. My high school graduation robes were white. Can we just discuss? You had to wear something white underneath of them because they were like that super shiny, like disposable fabric. Can we just discuss being my size? So being definitely not in like, it's like, I was probably a 26, I'm guessing. Can we just before the internet, can we just discuss trying to find a white outfit as a size 26 as a teenager? in 1996. It wasn't cute, y'all. Somehow I found something, but I don't even know how that happened. Anyway, some of us are still exploring our style when we're 45. We're getting another adolescence. But the cool thing is the Joni and the Hinterland, if you need to modify the bodice or the sleeve, same modifications for both. So like once you figure out your modifications for one, they immediately can port over to the other, which that's brilliant. As a person who does need quite a few moderations. Yeah, I do. Freudian slip. As a person who needs quite a few modifications. So for example, in my Joni, I needed to do a full bust adjustment and then not even a full bicep adjustment, but like literally going up several sizes for the bicep. It's going to be super cool if I do want to do the hinterland, that's kind of like, now I don't have to worry about how to modify it. I already know from doing this one, which is super cool. And I imagine that happens a lot with, like once you get kind of invested in one designer, I think that because they're usually operating from like a similar block, but to literally know that it's like a 1-to-1 port is pretty cool. So yeah. And then in my last sewing, I finished my little bag. So this is from Yoko Saito's Handheld Patchwork Treasures. This is her book. This was a a kit I purchased from her. And it's done, and it looks really cute. Right? So I did the patchwork with my mom, the applique, quite a while ago, but it had kind of just sat and I hadn't finished it. And then I finally quilted it and it just sat. So it just, it just takes a minute to get. But I'm very pleased with it. And I think it's super sweet. I have no idea what it's going to be for. Maybe it's going to be a gift. I don't know. But it is super cute. Is it not? I mean, do you love that orange door? Bam, orange door. It's so cute. So yes. I didn't use the buttons that were in the kit because I quite frankly couldn't find them. Because I waited a little too long to do the finishing. Oopsie. Oh, and one thing I should have mentioned on my estuary skirt. Right? Fail on my part. Okay, so I originally did not feel the need to do buttonholes. I was like, I'm just going to use, because they give you that option to just, make the placket, but you don't have to do buttonholes. Like if you don't actually think you're going to unbutton the skirt, because it has an elastic waist in the back, so it's very easy to pull on and off. There's no functional need for there to be buttons. It is just aesthetic. So one of the things you can do is just skip the buttonholes and just sew your buttons through both of the plackets and be done, which was originally my intention. It didn't occur to me that many of the buttons that were in my little vintage assortment had shanks. And like, I couldn't cheat because the shank on the button stuck it out from the fabric. And so really needed a buttonhole for that shank to disappear into. Good news, I did a bunch of buttonholes and they all turned out really well. Bad news, or good news, whatever, good news. I learned that you need to take into account the depth of the button, which had never occurred to me before. So just, again, PSA. If you're sewing and you've never used shank buttons, or again, just like non-standard, like not thin little buttons before, yeah. So either you need to use a different kind of buttonhole or you might need to make your buttonhole a little bit bigger. Oops. That said, they all did go through their buttonholes, but goodness gracious, if I would have to unbutton and button them, I would have had to redo all my buttonholes because, yikes. They do not easily button and unbutton. Right. Chastity skirt. Okay. So then let's talk about knitting. Let's talk about crochet. So I did very briefly mention that I found this pattern via one of the patrons. Thank you. Thick Mushroom Lady. And this is the first time I believe that it's the first time I've ever done a crocheted amigurumi. I can crochet, but I definitely do not consider myself, like, I consider myself maybe an advanced beginner. So I started my gal with some handspun that had just been hanging out in the house forever, and I felt like maybe that's mushroom colors. So here she is so far. Here's her little booty. Right? She's working. But something happened, and my legs are not on straight. I don't know. So my legs are on, not exactly backwards, but just somehow cattywampus. And so like her little cute calf is like aligned correctly here, but this way she's just permanently dancing, quite frankly, is what it looks like. So I decided to go ahead and just put her on hold for a minute because I wasn't decided if I was okay with this much difference between the legs and the body, because it's hand spun, right? If I was okay with that much difference between the legs and the body, and then if I was okay with her being in a constant state of dance because of awkward dance because of her knees being not in the right place. I did start over and was very excited about starting over. I was like super fired up. As soon as I bought the pattern, as soon as I saw the pattern, I literally bought it that night and started the next day. Crocheted like mad. Like this is like 2 days of crocheting. And again, as somebody who's never done that kind of pattern, that's quite a bit. And I was just, and even after that, I was like, well, I should start over and I'll get her little calves right. But maybe I need to do a variegated. And so what I did was I cast on, I think the pattern is written DK, but of course it's amigurumi, so you can do whatever you want. And this hand spun is like, who knows, right? Is it worsted? Probably. So I decided, I've got this sport weight from Leadingman Fiber Arts. This is their Yarn Hoarder colorway, and it's such a good colorway. It's just been sitting because I just haven't found the right thing for it. And while I stopped, this is, I mean, crochet might be perfect for this colorway. And not for this camera, but maybe for this color. There we go. How fun is that? It's so cute in crochet, but I had to stop because, again, much like my, like, what's wrong with my back? The next day I was cutting fabric and I was like, gosh, what is wrong with my thumb? I haven't even been cutting fabric for that long today. And I just kept being like, this like intense ache in my thumb. And literally it was the whole day. And then right in the evening I was like, crochet. Because it is so tight to get the, like, you know, again, you don't want your stuffing showing through. It's all single, well, it's almost all single crochets, and you're on a tight, you know, a small hook. I don't have the thumb muscles yet. So we'll see. I've put it on hold. We'll see if the fire picks back up after I let my thumb rest. Excuse me. After I've let my thumb rest a little while. It is terribly charming so far. Again, like, I feel like I could just at least make this into like a plant holder so that I have her butt around in my life and her tummy, right? We'll see. So that's Thick Mushroom Lady by Mushroom Fables Crochet. This is her first, okay, so, let me just give you a disclaimer. This is her first pattern, and there have been a few things where I'm a little bit like, for example, when she does her legs, her first instruction line is with the main color, single crochet 5. Now, again, as somebody who is experienced with amigurumis, I'm sure you know that means that you need to make some sort of like pinhole cast on and do, but since this is my first one, so there might be a few, she is a newer pattern writer. She does not have other patterns, at least at this time, in her Ravelry authors page. So I have like a slight like I am not experienced enough with these kinds of patterns to offer like whether or not this is a well-written pattern or not, because I just don't have that experience. So I will just recommend it like with that caveat. I mean, this is a terribly cute thing, but I don't know yet how the pattern is going to work out. Okay. So knitting. I have knit a bit more on my Musselburgh hat, which is by Isolde Teague. Right. This is Mustache Yarn Camp Cow Winter 2019 Denali. And so this is 2 must-match skeins. So what I did is I decided to put a purl row in. It's what I think it's just like, I think it's just a me thing. I don't like not really like knowing where the fold is on the Musselburgh. Again, I'm sure it's just a me thing. But if you do a purl row, it will make the fold very clear and like you'll know where it is. It'll be crisper. But again, for me, I'm excited about trying it out this way. I think I will be more pleased with it. But look how fun that yarn is. So it's fingering weight. I'm using, I think, 0s. Yeah. But I am a very loose knitter. Such a loose knitter. Even when it's not Margarita Day. Okay. And so then the last thing. Okay, back. The camera like overheated. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is I am making something inspired by. So, inspired by the Rift Tee, which is a pattern by Jacqueline Cieslak. It is written for sport, but the gauge is 4 stitches to the inch. So, that's, you know, that's a very loosey-goosey or more like a DK-ish. Again, no commenting on Jacqueline, just saying like, it's not like an old school sport gauge. How about that? So this pattern is for kind of like a boxy tee, right? I think it's supposed to have 6 to 12 inches of positive ease. That's the intention. And it's written for finished sizes 40 to 72 inches, 102 to 183 centimeters. It has a short sleeve and a long sleeve option. It has a custom bicep option. So if you're a person whose sweaters, if they fit you in the bust or too snug in the arm, it has that available for you. It also has optional horizontal darts for cup sizes EF, GH, IJ. So anywhere from a 4 to a 6+ inch difference from your upper bust to full bust size. 4 stitches the inch. I think that's your stuff. So yes. So mine is just inspired by. It is not you know what I'm saying. I am using Barocco Gaia, which is 100% recycled fibers, 70% cotton, 30% polyester, and Lana Grossa Ecopuno, which is merino baby alpaca. Right. Weird combo, right? But I don't know, for some reason, again, I've just been craving this like wheat cereal. It's not even really wheat color, like, because wheat's golden, but like this like Weetabix color and like a hotter coral. So this just scratched the itch I needed, and they were on sale. So judge, but so I am doing, so this has a high-low hem. So the back hem is a longer split high-low hem. So the back hem is longer than the front. And then what I'm doing is just a random stripe generator. So I specifically used Biscuits and Jam. She has like a random stripe generator where you can plug in how many rows you want it to generate. There's color options. You can choose however many colors you want. And then you can choose like the number of stripes you want. So for example, if you were knitting something flat and you didn't want to have to keep like having a yarn over here and then like one starting over here and like, you know, going back and forth like that. You could request only like 2, 4, 6, 8s, you know. But I just did 1 through 7. I decided 7 was my maximum length or maximum width, maximum height stripe. And so you can plug that stuff in and then you can kind of like hit refresh until you see like a sequence that appeals to you, right? And they are random, so there is no like get skinny stripes, get fat stripes. It's just randomized. And it's really helpful when you're using multiple colors and you just can't quite visualize and maybe you've tried to use colored pencil or something, but like my problem is always that I want to be too regular, like I want to be too repeatable, and so I need help being more random. And so this is a great way if you find yourself doing that. Another way you can do is totally just roll a die each time you change your color. Like if you want to do like a 6-sided die or, you know, up to 20-sided die, you can do that. But this is what I was using, and it's free. It's just something you can do on the internets, on the onlines. So it's kind of loosey-goosey. I'll just hang it up from the bottom. Here's my sweater. So I have split for my arms. I am currently doing the back of the sweater. I did run into trouble with the twisted rib. My gauge apparently on twisted rib is significantly tighter. Like my same size needle, my body gauge is like 4.5 stitches to the inch. My ribbing gauge is like 6.5 or maybe even more to the inch. So I cast on my ribbing that I would think I would need for like the back hem, and it was way too small. Way too small. So it was heartbreaking to tear out twisted ribbing, but I did. And then cast on with new information. And while I typically put a lot more stitches in the front for my sweaters because I have more body in the front, I did do the hem slightly more even because again, by the time you get to the hem, it tends to even out on my body. I think my husband is coming home, so I'll be right back in a minute. Okay, so I'm a little bit nervous about this one simply because, of course, I'm in the middle of a row. Because why else would I show you something if it weren't in the middle of a row? I'm a little concerned. I tend to not love the lots of positive ease in a sweater, and I tend not to love a really loose gauge. Why am I doing both of those things? Because I needed these 2 yarns to be together in my life. I don't know. It's just something. I'm not saying I make sense. One of the things that's turned out that's kind of interesting about this this cotton yarn is that it biases a bit. I think you can see it there. It does bias a bit in the round, but then of course, well not of course, but as often is the case, when you're knitting it flat, it does even itself out. So I don't think it'll be a big deal when the garment is finished because again, it is a looser gauge, and I think the weight of it will probably pull the biasing, not pull it out, but lessen its visual effect. And again, it's not, the whole thing is not biasing, it's just those stripes. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So again, that is sort of loosely based on the Rift Tee by Jacqueline Cieslak. I am knitting mine on US 4s, which is 3.5 millimeters, and my gauge is like 3.5 stitches to the inch. 4.5 stitches to the inch versus the 4 that's indicated. And like my corally yarn is more open than the cotton, which I also like. I like that contrast a bit. So we'll see. I mean, we'll just have to kind of wait and see if I actually like to wear it or if it will need to find a new home. But it's been pleasant so far. And I am almost doing the boat neck in the back. So then I'll pick up the front and we'll go from there. Okay. I think that's all for this week. Next week I'll have more to show you on my quilt because I technically finished the top, but I'll save it for next time. Don't be such a greedy Gus. Because I had so many other things to talk to you about. I don't know. Be red, be sweaty. Have chunky, funky arms. Bless. Talk to you next time. Bye.